So, Steam versus Epic. For a long time, Steam has remained supreme as the go-to PC games launcher. Of course, certain other games and companies have their own personal version. You have Uplay from Ubisoft, Origin from EA, and the completely garbage Bethesda launcher, among others. But the newest contender, Epic, seems to be poised to make a legitimate play for the spotlight and perhaps eclipse Steam as the primary PC games launcher. In the long run, legitimate competition between launchers is likely a very good thing. Competition spurs companies to improve their services in order to capture their target audience, but in the short term, while Epic establishes itself, it is actually going to be uncomfortable for consumers for a variety of different reasons. Epic is just now emerging, whereas Steam has been around for a relatively long period of time. As such, Steam has had the runway to perfect a host of different features that Epic has not yet implemented, and those features will not be displayed on the Epic Store for a decent length of time, if at all. Certain iconic Steam features will likely never make the cut for the Epic launcher, and thus the two platforms will indeed have very large differences, even many years down the line. The thing that Epic has going for it is that it is backed up by Fortnite revenue, which is unbelievably high for the time being at least, and it offers a larger split of revenue for publishers and for developers. Steam siphons off a 30% revenue chunk, while Epic lowers that number to 12%. This is a very, very large differential and is going to be a huge motivator for games to make the transition and offer their products there. The simple solution, which would be most friendly to consumers, would be joint offerings. Games would offer their products on both Steam and on Epic Games and allow consumers to use their preferred platform. But with the two launchers in direct competition with one another, this is very unlikely to happen, and in fact we are already seeing the inverse take place. Two major games, already in 2019, have been confirmed as Epic Store exclusives. Those games are The Division 2, an anticipated looter shooter, and Metro Exodus. Again, another anticipated release that has been in development for quite some time. When given the open-ended choice of which launcher to utilize, many players would probably stick with Steam for a variety of reasons, including Steam Wallet functionality, global currency conversion support, user reviews, and an overall social media-esque integration that the launcher provides. But we will dive into that in just a moment. Epic, on the other hand, does not yet support certain global currencies, making it more costly to convert through and purchase games exclusive to their platform. It has a significant lack of social features at the moment, such as achievements, profile displays, friend list support functionality, and much more as well. Epic also has no user reviews, citing a deliberate intention to reduce toxicity and prevent review bombing, which can happen, sure, but the more apparent effect of such a stance is eliminating a valuable information source for consumers in an effort to protect the ability of larger publishers and developers to release unfinished and faulty products with less accountability. Epic has also recently updated its return and refund policy to be very similar to Steam, with a 2-hour window in which a user can request a full reimbursement. But as it stands, from a consumer perspective, Epic is the less desirable launcher, not only because of deliberate feature choice, but also due to its infancy. So with Epic in its current state being a less desirable service, how then do they pull players into their client and build up a player base with which to compete with Steam? The answer is exclusives. The Division 2 and Metro Exodus will be only available on their launcher, and both games are absolutely popular, but two titles is nowhere near enough to populate the Epic Store fully, and give it a foothold with which to compete. This is just the beginning. Over time, many games will start to become exclusive to Epic, both because of their desirable profit share, and also because of their deliberate efforts to secure these exclusives to bolster their community. In the long term, once Epic is established and fully competing with Steam, the competition will hopefully drive progressive, consumer-friendly development. But in the lead up to that, which may be quite long given the financial powerhouses behind both Steam and the Epic Store, the war over consumer retention will be unpleasant, because the primary tactic at this stage is not mass appeal, it is obligation. To any gamer traditionally utilizing Steam who routinely purchases new titles that release, especially on a AAA level, if you wish to continue that practice in coming years, expect to be forced into having both launchers and purchasing every other game back and forth. The second tactic that Epic is utilizing is influencer marketing. This one is very good for me personally, should I really sink my teeth into it, that is, and allows for streamers, YouTubers, and other influencers to retain a slice of the profits by advertising their unique code and spurring purchases on the Epic platform that utilize their tag. This lets giant creators earn profit not only from using the Epic Store, but advertising it, and will again help bolster their community during these first stages. Epic is quite clearly the superior platform for developer revenue and also for influencer appeal because of their creator support program, but the problem is it is distinctly worse in its current form for the average consumers. Let's dive into reviews again, because this is a very big deal. I will cede that review bombing can happen, and sometimes in an unjustifiable way that damages the game's reputation and hinders it in the long-term future. But a far more common occurrence is utilization of peer reviews on Steam to better understand a game's subjective appeal. A very common phenomenon that I easily can attest to myself is the practice of sifting through user reviews when considering a game for purchase, right on the game's store page, until the buyer eventually finds a review that catches their attention, perhaps because of length or articulation or tone, who knows. For some reason, a review will stand out to a buyer, they will read through it and gather information before making their purchase decision. The massive majority of times, user reviews are used in a positive way by players and end up being very helpful. A small minority of the time, they can end up having a negative impact or can be co-opted by outrage mobs to review bomb or inflict damage. But when weighed on the scale of positive to negative, user reviews are an overwhelming positive. Epic Games does not like the social aspect of Steam. They are creating a developer and publisher friendly platform, but with that comes the attempt to further control the flow of buyer information. The more that large companies can lock down gamers' ability to give feedback or to have that feedback seen, the easier it becomes to release broken garbage and trick huge chunks of the player base into buying it. If the only thing on a game's store page is a flat out false advertising lie and some falsified marketing trailers, it is undeniable that a portion of players will be fooled on a surface level into purchasing the game. If, however, as is true with Steam, there is also a big red thumbs down with the review score of mostly negative, and the player scrolls down 3 ticks or less of the mouse wheel to see a well-articulated post about how the game fails to deliver on all expectations, falls short in many areas, and is, in effect, total stinking trash, it helps inform buyers and prevents misled purchasing. Epic does not want that to be possible. From a basic perspective, Steam is better for the user, at least right now, and the Epic launcher is better for the developer. In the long term, if competition forces Steam to be better for developers, and likewise forces Epic to be better for consumers, well, that's the healthiest form of competition, and everyone wins. In the short term, exclusivity and obligation will be used on the part of Epic to force players to use their inferior customer platform, and that will be a very unpleasant phenomenon. EA games launch on Origin, Bethesda uses its own Bethesda launcher, Uplay holds the Ubisoft releases, and Steam held everything else, while even also having a functionality where Uplay, for instance, would launch through Steam, so you could still usually keep all of the games on one platform, sort of at least. We are headed into a situation, though, where every other release is on an entirely different or separate launcher. One week you'll have to buy it on Epic, but if you are from certain countries, the game even costs more money because they don't have the support for your specific currency. The next week, you have to buy on Steam. The next week after that, it has to be Origin, and around we go. It's inconvenient for the user and will remain that way for quite some time. Steam pricing models were created many years ago and never changed to account for market and industry shifts. If they were to modify their developer split percentage, Epic Games would be dealt a major blow. But if they refuse and insist on following their historically stoic model of unflinching price amounts, Epic Games will likely see its launcher gain slow and continuous ground. But on the user end, that means more and more pressure to use a platform that is less social, less helpful, and holds less player-friendly features. A lot of creators and media outlets are discussing the growing competition between the two platforms, with the claim that it will be a good thing for the industry, which it absolutely will, but the positive developments are likely long-term, and the short-term is riddled with inconvenience. If pressure can be created that nudges the Epic Store to create user reviews, further update their consumer practices to be increasingly friendly and create an atmosphere that is both superior for developers and superior for customers, it will be an iconic day for gamers. But as it stands, the Epic Store is putting developer interests far above that of their individual consumers. 2019 will be a year of monumental shift within the gaming industry, on a AAA level, on an indie level, and also clearly on a framework and launcher level. We're seeing signs of these changes start to pick up already, and the end result will be very, very positive, but it will likely be quite rocky along the way. Brace yourselves and be prepared, especially on PC, to diversify your information sources and juggle many different launchers as the dust settles. That's it for today, though. If all remains constant, Epic will win out over Steam, eventually to the detriment of players after a long and hard-fought competitive battle. But with modifications to either side's current business model, the landscape would change drastically, and we could witness a complete reversal in both position and benefit. Either way, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. As always, there are a ton of links down below to support Upper Echelon, from custom merch to different gaming communities, other social media for the channel as well, but that's enough advertising. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a nice night.